Well, we're back. Add Newt Gingrich to the list of Republicans who want to find out if the Muslim Brotherhood has influence over the U.S. government. In an interview with Politico's Jim Vandehei and Mike Allen today, he refused to denounce U.S. Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann's call for such an investigation or for her request to look into top Hillary aide Huma Abedin. Here he is, Newt.
And do you agree with Huma? The allegations against? Do you agree with the allegations against Hillary Clinton's?
There weren't allegations. There was a question.
A pretty serious question.
Well, then the question ought to
request for an investigation.
The question ought to be asked across the board. What's the role of the Muslim Brotherhood? What are its various networks? And to what degree does it now influence the government of the United States?
So do you think the Muslim Brotherhood has infiltrated the U.S. government? I mean, that's the core of their allegation.
I think it's worth knowing, and I think it tells you something.
But everything's worth knowing.
Well, I think it tells you something about the level of hysteria attacking these 5 members of Congress.
The attacks are coming from your own party.
Well, and I think those folks are wrong. I think they ought to ask the question, what is it they're afraid of learning?
Anyway, it's not just Gingrich. Rush Limbaugh is also coming to Bachmann's defense. Is there such a thing as too far right these days? I doubt it. Ron Reagan's an MSNBC political analyst and the author of My Father at 100. And Aaron McPike covers the campaign for Real Clear Politics. Let me start with you, Ron. It does seem to me when you begin a McCarthyite investigation of someone with the presumption they've got something to hide, you've got to tear it out of them like being an agent of the Muslim Brotherhood, and it's a top aide to Hillary Clinton. Look, you can argue about Hillary Clinton's points of view, but nobody lacks confidence in her competence. That should have somebody sitting right next to her on every airplane ride who's working for the Arab evil ones and somehow influencing her. And she wouldn't know about it.
Newt Gingrich was being it was a portrait in disingenuousness there. The idea that they were merely asking a question about Huma Abedin? No, they weren't. They had this connection, this sort of specious connection drawn back through her father and her great uncle and her third cousin or somebody who supposedly was connected to a group that might have been connected to another group and all this kind of thing. They were making an accusation about Huma Abedin. You know, what is that about? If they weren't making an accusation about her, what was her name doing in that letter? How many thousands of Muslims work in the U.S. government right now? What are they saying? There's a guy named Wes Anderson, I believe it is. He's out in Arizona. I might have the name wrong, but he's the head of one of the Tea Party groups out there. He's going after McCain now, wants to defeat McCain in the next election and maybe even recall him. I'm not sure what his fantasy is. But his point of view is that any Muslim anywhere in the United States is an enemy of America. Period.
Okay. Let's bring back the Japanese internment camps. Yeah, let's bring the internment camps back.
Right, and so who is Michelle Bachmann appealing to? Those sorts of people. And that is a big chunk of the Republican Party.
The guy's name is Wes Harris. Wes Anderson is a movie director who's really quite good.
He's a movie director, yes. I'm sorry, bad with names. My apologies to Wes Anderson.
Moonrise Kingdom, I love that movie. Anyway, on his radio show yesterday, Rush Limbaugh came to Bachmann's defense. This is Birds of a Feather. Let's listen.
Bachmann's inquiry is justified, and there's no reason to tar and feather her. It's a legitimate question to want to know if one of Hillary Clinton's top aides poses a national security threat because of her parents' close ties to Muslim Brotherhood. That's all they're asking. And McCain and the Republican establishment in the Senate went to the floor to trash Bachmann. And one of the things, I'll just add, I think there's an effort by the Republican establishment to take Bachmann out. I think they're lining up to campaign against her in her re-election effort. But that's another subject.
See the world that we're living in here, Aaron? Rush Limbaugh's going after the Republican establishment as too far left. So guys like John McCain and Lindsey Graham and people like that are too far left. And to launch an inspector general investigation of someone's loyalty, which is what they're talking about here, loyalty to this country. It's just a casual, open question, that's all. Would anybody I know like to be investigated by the United States government for whether they're loyal or not? Go ahead, your thoughts. You're reporting on this thing.
Yeah, okay, well, first of all, as far as Huma is concerned, she is Hillary Clinton's deputy chief of staff. Now, people don't understand Washington parlance exactly, but she's not making policy. I mean, deputy chief of staff in Washington is a political and managerial role.
You think she's fair game now for Bachmann's latest event to investigate everybody?
No, I don't, but that's why I think this entire controversy is so strange. Why go after somebody in this position? It's her closeness to Clinton. It's a strange question.
Well, she is close to Clinton. I'll disagree with you on that. Very close.
Well,
you go on an airplane, look back, they're sitting next to each other. She is great. She's been loyal to her husband.
That's my
through
point,
this
but she's not making policy.
I'd say she's a loyalist.
I agree that she's loyal. What I'm saying is that she's not making policy, so it's a very strange question to be asking in the first place. And what Rush Limbaugh is saying is that the Republican establishment is going after her because she's diverting attention from their primary agenda, which is talking about President Obama and the economy.
You know what this reminds me of, Ron? It reminds me of American history. The French and Indian War, with the very well tailored and very well perfumed French officers would have to explain the behavior of their allies, their crazy Iroquois or whatever allies who are taking scalps somewhere. These people are embarrassing the Republican Party, but they want their votes. Ron Reagan,
exactly
thank you. Thank you, Aaron. And I do not offend Indians. I like American Indians. They were here first, but these guys are the worst.